This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter. I've been welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, September the 17th, is a quarterbacks coach of the Detroit Lions, currently in the NFL. He played in the NFL for 19 years, most notably for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was their first ever quarterback, if you will. The guy Jacksonville mortgaged stuff on, and he helped Jacksonville do quite well in the late 90s, early 2000s. After leaving Jacksonville in 2004, he played for 3 other teams before retiring in 2011. He actually was a backup quarterback for the 2010 New Orleans Saints, winning the Super Bowl, so technically he has a ring. He's been the quarterback's coach for 2 years. His name is Mark Brunell, who's now 53 years old. Brunell played in Santa Maria, California as a high school quarterback and then went to the University of Washington, which was a very huge thing. Brunell's abilities as a run-pass quarterback had potential and all that. And helped Washington beat USC in a 31-0 game, which was amazing and all that. The Huskies were pretty good and all that in the 1990 season, which was one of the most outrageous college football seasons ever, before 2007 popped up. But anyway, Washington were the Pac-10 champions, which meant they got to go to the Rose Bowl, and Brunell was the game's MVP as Washington took care of Iowa 46-34, one of the highest scoring Rose Bowl games ever. Washington was up by 25 after 3 quarters, and it almost blew up in their face, but fortunately they won. Anyway, Mark Brunell and Washington had lofty heights. Unfortunately, Brunell was injured in the spring game and was basically replaced by Billy Joe Hobert. But fortunately for Brunell, he recovered to play Washington's 3rd game of the 91 season. And the 91 Washington team was just as good as their previous ones. Brunell threw a touchdown pass to Mario Bailey as Washington won the Rose Bowl in 92 against Michigan. They actually won the national championship thanks to the coaches' poll. But they were second in the AP poll behind Miami. Regardless, Hobert and Brunell both were coming back. Hobert was the starting quarterback and all that. However, Hobert was implicated in actions with violations of NCAA rules. Hobert was suspended and Brunell was put back into the Huskies' role as starting quarterback. Unfortunately, though, Washington didn't do so well, winning 1 of their last 3 games. Fortunately, though, they were the Pac-10 champs, and Brunell did lead them against Michigan. I can't remember if they won or not. Well, regardless of that, Brunell in 4 years as a Washington Huskies quarterback, 33 games, going 3,423 yards, 23 touchdowns, 16 picks. So there were some questions about how high he would be in the draft because, after all, he didn't play the full season in his senior year. So Green Bay decided in the 5th round to take him, 118th overall in the 93 draft. Brunell was the 4th quarterback drafted. His fellow Husky Billy Joe Hobert was drafted in the 3rd round by the Raiders. So anyway, Brunell was competing against Ty Detmer to be Brett Favre's backup. All that. Brunell did not appear in any games, but made his debut in Week 8 of the 94 season after Brett Favre suffered a hip pointer injury. He engineered a drive, getting a touchdown. He was a restricted free agent after the 94 season and had a contract offer from the Eagles. Brunell was reluctant to take the Philadelphia trade offer because he didn't want to be the backup to Randall Cunningham. And Brunell did not want to sign a long-term deal with the Eagles, so that was done for. So Jacksonville decided to trade their 3rd and 5th round picks in the 95 draft to Green Bay for Brunell. becoming the first trade in Jacksonville history. And Jacksonville signed him to a 3-year contract. Brunell would be the main starter for the 95 Jaguars, who were an expansion team. 2,168 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Brunell would help Jacksonville shock everyone by getting to the AFC title game in their second season. But the Pats took him out. However, Jacksonville would be the first expansion team ever to go 3 playoffs in their first 4 seasons. Well, they missed the first year, but then they got 3 straight years. Brunell would lead Jacksonville to a magical 14-2 season in 1999. Unfortunately, they would lose the AFC title game to the Titans, who would then lose to the Rams in the Super Bowl. Of course, the worst part about the 99 Jaguars was that they lost only 3 games that whole year, and all 3 were to the Titans. Brunell would be benched during the third game of the 2003 season, which would be his last time in a Jags uniform. Jacksonville would then trade him to Washington before 2004. But Brunell would struggle and all that. Brunell would be the starter for the 2005 season, helping them win 10 games and even a playoff game against Tampa, in Tampa. He was named NFL Comeback Player. Well, he would have been, but he took 3rd. So anyway, Brunell threw 2 key touchdown passes to Santana Moss on Monday Night Football. Brunell actually set an NFL record for most consecutive completions in a single game, completing his first 22 passes against Houston. Brunell, after a terrible 3-6 start, was benched for Jason Campbell. One more year in Washington, he would go to New Orleans. Brunell had to change his number to 11 instead of his customary 8 because New Orleans unofficially retired that number for Archie Manning. Anyway, he would be the backup to Drew Brees and had a few games played and all that. But he was known as a advisor to Drew Brees, helping him out. Brunell would be the holder on the field goal tries by Garrett Hartley. And the Saints won the Super Bowl against the Colts 31-17, meaning that Brunell had his Super Bowl ring. He was a free agent after the season and did not re-sign with the Saints. He signed a 2-year deal with the Jets. He would be the backup for Mark Sanchez. Anyway. Yeah, after 1 season he was released and then but was given a contract at a reduced salary. But by 2012 he decided to retire and all that, becoming the quarterback's coach for Detroit in 2021. So his time spent with Green Bay, Jacksonville, Washington, New Orleans, and the Jets. 176 games, 78 wins as a starting quarterback, 32,072 passing yards, 184 touchdowns, 108 interceptions. In the playoffs, he played 11 playoff games, going 5 and 5. So he was the star quarterback for Jacksonville in the playoff runs. Jacksonville holds many Jacksonville records. Brunell is a devout Christian, with his family being active members in Virginia at a church. Anyway, he's married to his wife and has 3 sons and a daughter. His son Joseph is quarterbacking for Georgetown. Definitely not an IA squad. Brunell had to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2010 because of failed real estate and business investments. So anyway, that was just terrible what Brunell had to go through. But in the end, it was all for naught. And Jacksonville will like Mark Brunell, especially Jaguar Gator, one of the best YouTube guys around. But the fact of the matter is that Brunell is Jacksonville royalty. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.